Great things happen when small things change. And one small detail can trigger a series of events that lead to today's reality. Because we are part of an interdependent system, we can all, at every level, make a difference. Make the journey into a destination, an individual into a group, a small step into a whole movement. At FORVIA, this phenomenon has a name: the blue effect. It determines the basis of our actions today and propels each of our commitments into a decisive responsibility for the people and their future. A ripple effect that leverages our strengths and sets us on an extraordinary adventure to preserve what we hold most dear: our planet. 2025, CO2 neutrality in our industrial sites. 2030, 45% reduction in Scope 3 emissions. 2045, net zero. Tomorrow's sustainability is determined today. The Blue Effect. Together towards sustainability.
Hello everyone and welcome. FORVIA is live on LinkedIn today, and of course, to introduce the Blue Effect, you already get a glimpse in the video, even if the name might sound quite mysterious. But the question is, what is the Blue Effect all about? Some of our guests here on the set with me will explain in a few minutes, but to put it simply, it's a movement to amplify FORVIA's positive impact on the planet and society. So blue obviously is inspired by FORVIA's own color, and effect refers to the butterfly effect, which are small changes that can lead to significant impacts. So the Blue Effect is the belief that small actions, when combined, can lead to a more sustainable future. So today, what are we going to be discussing? A lot of things. We're going to be discussing collaboration, ecosystems, partnership, creativity, and innovation, all key ingredients in driving that energy transition in the automotive industry. And of course, I'm not alone, so explore these exciting topics today. I'm joined by a couple of very interesting experts here to speak about it. Of course, on my left, Patrick, CEO of FORVIA. It's great to see you.
Great to see you again after a long period of time.
Absolutely, it's the same here. So on the other side, we have Victoria Chanial. So Victoria, EVP Communication, Public Affairs and Sustainability. Fantastic to see you again.
Hello, Asha.
We have Elisabeth Delval, so meeting for the first time, FORVIA Sustainability VP. It's great.
Yes, it's great to be with you today for this such event.
And last but not least, Jaideep, Prabhu, who is our external guest professor at Cambridge University and a Frugal innovation expert here, who will share insights and recommendations to help FORVIA move forward. It's great to have all of you. We'll start just for our audience here behind the screens. Just for you, we have people in the room here, but we also have a lot of people watching us behind the screen. So we'll start with a 35-minute conversation, which will be followed by a Q&A. Feel free to drop your questions in the comment sections, and we will take as many as we can in the second part of our program. We have 20 minutes for that or so. So I hope you're excited and ready, because we are ready. So let's get started. And let me start with you, Patrick, because you're closer to me. And maybe just the sustainability topic is a key topic. It's one of the biggest challenges many industries are facing today, and not just automotive. And recent events like we've seen in Spain with the floods have sadly reminded us about how key, how sustainability isn't just a choice, but it is something, a matter of survival, if I may say. So probably some intro, what is your take on that?
I think that the climate change is a real urgency, and that we clearly have no time to waste. I would like to tell you a few figures. In the month of September, we had 78 red alerts, which means that we have the risk to stop our customer related to climate events. 78 worldwide. Since the beginning of this year, we have added 4 plants for severe water scarcity issues to the 25 plants we already had in our list. So 29 plants out of 260. So we are not speaking about theoretical issues. We are speaking about very practical issues which are hurting, sometimes very severely, people, and including our employees. And you spoke about what happened in Spain, in Valencia. I think that we will probably count about 300 deaths. Yeah? The plants were stopped. Our customers have restarted production, but very slowly, the 12th of November. Very slowly means with one shift in some cases, and even less than a shift in some other cases. Why? Because suppliers were hit by the flooding, because our employees do not have a car anymore to come to work, because sometimes they even don't have, a house anymore to rest. So we are speaking about, dramatic human events, and I believe that this will not improve. So today we are as far as that we have to continue to fight to limit the global warming, but in the same time we have to invest in finding appropriate solutions to mitigate the consequences of this global warming.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll turn to you, Jaideep. I'm sure this must resonate. I'll let you comment in a few minutes. By the way, I read your book, To Guide Innovation, that I had the opportunity actually to chat with one of your colleagues, Navi Raju, who worked with you on that. I know that your research is around really how helping firms today to develop solutions to really for low-income communities and the impact of these solutions to improve the lives and livelihoods of those people in society at large. So what are your thoughts on initiatives like this when it comes from, the mobility industry? Any thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Asha. It's a delight to be with you here for the launch of this wonderful initiative, Blue Effect. So I have three thoughts when I think about this initiative and the mobility sector. First, as you all know, the mobility sector is so important globally to economies around the world. On the supply side, it generates jobs and growth, very crucial. And on the demand side, it is such an essential part of our lives as consumers. So to have this initiative come from FORVIA, such a major player in such an important sector, is very inspiring and very important. The second thought is that it's important to have the support of the leadership. We have the leadership right here supporting this event. I've spent my career studying innovation in large and small companies around the world, and a key part of driving innovation is to have a culture of innovation. And to have that culture of innovation, you need to have the leadership on board. They set the stage for that, to foster and create such a culture. And the third thing, perhaps the most important, exciting thing, is that in this initiative, you're engaging everyone in the organization, all your employees and your partners. So leadership is important, but it's even more important to have people throughout the organization involved in this initiative. Because you need to give them time and space to be able to experiment with new things, some of which may fail. But they should have permission to do that and learn from it, and then spread the word, scale those ideas. So I think this is a very exciting time, and I'm really looking forward to how it plays out within this organization. It will have huge transformational effects.
Jaideep, we'll turn to frugality and speak about it more in details in a few minutes. But if we take a step back, so from what I know, I've been also following what FORVIA has been doing. So there's the FORVIA's net zero roadmap. So maybe turning to you, Patrick, Victoria, and Elisabeth, I would really like to have a piece of your brain on this. I know that you've set very clear targets for 2025, 2030, 2045, even it seems quite far. So a quick overview, probably. I will start with maybe scope 1 and 2 with you, Patrick, and maybe scope 3, Victoria. Yeah.
We'll let Elisabeth speak about the figures. She knows them much better.
She knows them better.
But I would like to say a few words about mobility. I think that mobility is a human right. And to make it a human right, it needs to be sustainable, but also affordable. And it's not really the direction the automotive industry is taking today. And so, you know, when we spoke about frugality, I think that it's absolutely key to offer the needed quality, but not more, because more costs a fortune. And we have to rethink about this. That's one thing. The second thing, the situation actually, and what you hear from the news, is that it seems to become a political subject. Global warming is not a political subject. I'm saying it again, it's hurting people. And it's hurting more the poorest. And when you look at the stock today, you know, we can say we have made a lot of efforts and we are no more the ones who are contributing most to the additional CO2 content. But if you look at the stock, we are responsible, I mean the Western countries, the developed countries, for a massive share of the stock.
Right.
So we have here an historical responsibility, and we cannot escape this responsibility. So we are doing a lot of things, and before I give you the possibility to detail these figures, I would like also to say one thing. When you look at scope 1 and 2, scope 1 and 2 is good for the planet, but it's also good for the company, because we made a lot of savings. Yeah? It's as much as a CO2 reduction plan as a productivity plan for the company. When I look at scope 3, without scope 3, without this pressure, we might not have decided to create Materiact. We might not have invested in hydrogen. We might not push our engineers to be more creative and finding new solutions to win weight on what we are designing and change, you know, the architecture, be more creative, going in different areas, including frugality, in which I believe a lot. So I think that what is good for the planet is, in the very vast majority of the cases, good for the company.
Makes sense. It's a good intro. I think if you could give some feedback on what you're doing, yeah.
Yes, so as we mentioned, for the decarbonization strategy, we have 3 main milestones. First one on scope 1 and 2. We started a few years ago, and globally all our approach has been approved by SBTi, and we were among the first automotive industry to be approved by SBTi. So as you can see, we have a first milestone on scope 1 and 2. It means in our operations, so what we want is really reduce the energy consumption and switch to better source of energy. So how we will succeed this first milestone. So first, you can see that we have made huge progress on energy savings, so minus 30%. So it's very significant for a company such as FORVIA. And thanks to that, we can reinvest in better source of energy. And you can see that we have invested in 2 wind farms, allowing up to 700 gigawatts. So it's very significant at the scale of FORVIA, and we are really on track to achieve this minus 80% by 2025. For sure, last year we were already at minus 41%, and really we will announce beginning of this year. I cannot disclose the information for now, but we are really close already to the objective.
Okay, we'll be keeping an eye on that. That's great. Maybe, Victoria, if you could probably add some flesh on the bones for scope 3, maybe give us a clearer understanding.
Yes, of course, Sasha. So scope 3 is the biggest challenge for the company. Here we are talking about 98% of our emissions. So 2% of our emissions are scope 1 and 2. 98, so this is the biggest challenge for the company. We have an ambitious target. The target is to reduce by 45% our CO2 emission by 2030. So it's tomorrow. It's in 6 years, within 6 years. So 2 generations of cars. That's why we want to accelerate. We want to go fast. We want to be bold in a way. to innovate. And we have three guiding principles. Use less, use better, use longer. So use less, obviously, fewer components. So we need to rethink also the architectures of our products. Better materials, for example, bio-based plastic, recyclates. And longer, we think about, obviously, recycled content and recyclability of our products. In terms of innovation, regarding Scope 3, we set also an ambitious target about having 100% of our innovation that can lead to a CO2 reduction by at least 30%. So we want to achieve this kind of target. As Patrick said, we worked on very significant innovative solution, for example, hydrogen. Hydrogen, we are controlling 75% of the value chain. We want to be a leader in this field, notably with Symbio, for example, the JV we have with Stellantis and Michelin. And obviously, Materiact, which will help us significantly to achieve the target. Materiact is a business activity we launched 2 years ago in France, in Lyon, to produce and commercialize some sustainable products, compounds, and surface materials.
Fantastic. And of course, this is not possible.
Maybe just one thing I would like to add, because Jaideep, you said it. We can't do this alone. Yeah?
That was my point. Thank you, Patrick. Exactly what I wanted to say.
It's another dimension of all these activities. We do it inside several ecosystems. Yeah? And we work, when I look at Materiact, we work with agricultural companies, which we never did before, yeah? For all the biosourced materials. This in very different countries, yeah? So with different environments. So it's very rich also from this point of view, and we learn a lot through all these activities.
Fantastic. And really, I would like to hear you on what you heard so far, really. In the context of energy transition, sustainability, Victoria mentioned doing more with less and for longer. This find a new resonance. I think it becomes relevant. Jaideep, maybe can you make a connection with your research and as an expert in frugal innovation? So what do you think of all of that?
No, there's a very close link between frugal innovation and sustainability and the energy transition. So frugal innovation is all about doing more and better with less for longer. But so is sustainability. It's about making the best use of limited resources and doing it over a long period of time. So there's an intimate link, and frugal innovation can help you to be more sustainable. You mentioned our book, Jugaad Innovation. That actually was all about emerging markets. It came out in 2012. But after that book came out, we saw there was a lot of interest in frugal innovation in the West, for the West. And large corporations, that when we were talking to them, were saying they were interested in doing frugal innovation alongside their more traditional, more expensive R&D. And when we interviewed them, the major reason they told us why they wanted to explore frugal innovation was because of their footprint. And they told us that it was in their interest, as you were saying. It was in their business interest to be able to reduce their footprint. So they did everything in their supply chains to reduce it. But then there is also the use of their products and services by consumers, by users. And that's harder to shift. So circularity comes into the picture, and circular business models and behavioral insights and switching business models becomes interesting. So there's a very intimate relationship. I'll just give an example. One of the big companies we interviewed was IKEA. Makes furniture, and they're so dependent on a scarce resource, which is timber. So what do? They anticipated that in 10 years, there was going to be less timber, there'll be more competition for it, and yet, without that, they don't have a business. So they obviously, first of all, secure their supply. They have forests, and they secure their supply. But over time, they've also been getting us to think about circular models. And now they allow us to sell second-hand furniture back to their stores, and they'll sell it from their stores.
Brilliant.
Even if it cannibalizes their existing products. So there is a very deep and intimate relationship between frugal innovation and sustainability.
Thank you for sharing. And if we go back to the blue effect, we were saying, small changes can lead to big changes in the society, in the business. Maybe Victoria, from the employee's perspective, what is the program? What are you expecting? Tell us a little bit more about it.
So the blue effect, as you said at the very beginning, is about the butterfly effect. So small things can lead to big changes. So the commitment to sustainability within FORVIA is not new. What is new, as Patrick said, also is the context in which we are operating. So there is kind of uncertainties regarding the pace of electrification, the slowdown of electrification. There are some uncertainties about regulation, about purchasing prices. And what we are seeing with the blue effect is, look, we are not going to stop. We are not going to slow down. We are going to accelerate, because we need to accelerate to fight climate change. So that's the first thing. It's kind of an urgent call for action. This is the first point. The second point for me is that, as we already said, it's a collective call for action. FORVIA, we are going to add, but we cannot solve the problem by being alone. We need our customers, we need our partners, we need our employees on board, everyone involved. That's the second point. And for me also, blue effect, as you said also at the very beginning, Asha, it's the blue. So it's the impact FORVIA wants to have on society and the planet. When we set 2 years ago the mission of the company, we said we want to pioneer technologies for mobility experiences that matter to people. That matter to people is sustainability and affordability. And we pioneer. So there is a leadership. It's a question of conviction within the company. And we want to keep this leadership. We want to have a positive impact on society and the planet.
I'd just like to add one thing. When you think about the global warming, we have a problem. And we need solutions. Who are the bodies who are capable to propose solutions? Research and industry. Okay? So if the industry, if the companies are not working on trying to find solutions, it will not work. You can regulate as much as you want, but if you do not propose very concrete measures, innovations, solutions, it will not improve. So I think that we, companies around the world, we have a responsibility, and which on the top of that is a very attractive goal to support. And in getting engaged will also allow us to attract the best talents around the world. And I think that this is very important. So it's a kind of positive snowball which we all have to consider. I also, sorry, I'm perturbating the plan as usual. One thing which I believe is also very important, and it's a touchy subject, it's the definition of quality. Yeah? We have in the automotive industry a kind of absolute definition of quality which cannot work with frugality. Yeah? And you cannot have the same spec for a Rolls-Royce and an entry A-level car which costs 15 to 20 times less. Yeah? And so we need an appropriate quality level, which is making sure that from a safety point of view, all the guarantees are given to the people. But then we need to adjust the quality to really what the people would like to get. Yeah? And this is a different mindset. It's an additional complexity which is difficult to deal with.
And that's very interesting and leading me to my next point. Maybe, Jaideep, you could give us your thoughts on that. So what are you seeing? I mean, how do you strike the balance to, bring frugality and having the quality we were just talking about, and at the same time, the topic we can move forward if everybody embraces it.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure that we onboard everyone? What do you see? How to spread it?
Yeah. So this is a key point. This is an absolutely crucial point, because you want to have good enough quality, no more than that.
Exactly,
because
good enough.
Going from 80% of the solution to 100% quality can add 80% of cost. You can get to 80% of the solution at 20% of the cost. And that's the kind of equation you have to think about. But actually, you don't even have to make it a trade-off. If you work closely with your partners from the get-go, you can work with them to come up with a solution that they value, at the quality that they value, but at a fraction of the cost that would normally take you if you did it on your own. And I think that's what you want to be able to get to. You want to be able to get to a partnership with the key people and work with them to be able to understand what is the level of quality we need, and then find a solution in an effective, faster, better, cheaper way. And that's not easy, but that's a challenge. So having a challenge like that, and you mentioned, this part of this Blue Effect is to throw out a challenge to people in your organization. Can you do what seems to be impossible? Can you square the circle? Can you come up with things that are highly affordable, but also of quality, that meets safety, that are desirable, and yet done on time? And that can wake people up in the morning and give them a sense of purpose. That can challenge people in small teams where they can try out little experiments, maybe fail, learn from, and then inspire others. So a lot of these blue sparks can then create a blue flame. So I think this is why this is so exciting.
Elisabeth, this must resonate. You're doing a lot of things, I know, internally with the teams. So maybe just a quick word.
Yes, for sure. We are, I will say, we have structured a global network in the company. So we are involving all the functions, all the, I would say, business groups, all the activities, and also all the regions. And thanks to this network, we can go faster. We can share best practice. We can generate ideas, new solutions. So, and maybe I can explain a little bit more what we are doing differently. So for sure, we are working on innovations to use less, use better, and longer. And we are also embracing new philosophy and new concepts. For example, the concept of modularity that we can apply everywhere in the seats, interiors, in order to use less by reducing the number of components and moving to more frugal architecture. Using better, because this modularity facilitates the integration, the incorporation of sustainable materials, and using longer, because thanks to this modularity, you can easily update, upgrade one of the modules at any time of the lifetime of the vehicle, and at the end of life. It's easy recycling. But what is sure is that beyond technology, we want really to support our teams to generate ideas, to share their best practice. So it's, as we mentioned, is the best ideas will come from our people, will come, I will say, from also our partners, our suppliers. So that's why it's really important that we onboard everyone in this journey.
This is very interesting. And maybe, Victoria, if you could give us your view on that, because everybody needs to be aboard, you're supporting them, but people also need training, because it's a topic that is, we need to be educated on themes. So you've put in place a couple of things, right?
Of course, the first thing is to be aware of our impact. No? If you want to act, you need to know.
Yeah.
So the first thing is obviously some trainings, and this is all about the Blue Effect. Huh? We are going to put in place some trainings, newsletters, in order to support all our employees. And it's not just about engineers within the company. So engineers are going to propose some new automotive parts, but we have also the sales teams who are very much involved in order convince and with a strong customer intimacy, to understand the needs of our customers, to propose solutions. We have buyers in order to think about a sustainable supply chain. So a lot of persons within the company. And it's a massive cultural change. We are going to question the status quo. And I think we can count on some very strong values within the companies.
Right.
We have set some corporate values at the beginning of the journey. And we have some drive, accountability. So I'm sure that we can count on our people in order to
maybe
lead this.
one or two more questions before we take your questions, because there are people behind the screen, so feel free to drop your questions in the comment sections. We'll take a few of them. Maybe I will refer to, Patrick, what you said earlier, this change of mindset. We spoke about quality, affordability, desirability. So how do you strike a balance? Because it's tough, right? How do you make affordable products? How do you do it? Because we have this misconception, or I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, when we think sustainability, when we think about all the efforts behind it, we don't usually come to the affordability conclusion. So what do you think about that?
After that, it's also a question of KPIs. Yeah? So if you say, for example, we need to use different materials in order to reduce the CO2 content, but we need to do it without any cost inflation. It means that in this case, you have to find solutions, saving weight, for example, reducing the number of components, considering different assembling possibilities and technologies. So it's something you can drive, yeah? And the people are ready to do this. After that, you have also new tools today. You have AI, Gen AI tools, which will support you in designing the things differently. Elisabeth, you spoke about the toolings, for example, plastic injection tools. We do new tools each time. Yeah? And you have different parts of a tool which you could perfectly reuse. Yeah? And with new technologies like 3D printing, you can cool, for example, these tools very differently, and you can do it with the appropriate material.
Right.
So, and especially considering that we have a fragmentation of the volumes currently, there's no need to have a tool which is capable to deal with 2 million shots, for example. Yeah. So there's a lot of things, and you said the right words. I think, Victoria, you spoke about questioning the status quo. We have to do it differently, and I think we can. There's a lot of new possibilities which are offered today,
right,
to make it happen.
And this is and I'll get back to you, Jaideep, because I have a follow-up question for you, but it's quite interesting. The question we just received is very closely related to what you were saying a few seconds ago, Patrick. So how do you balance being a profit-making listed company with your commitment to the planet? Do they work together? So maybe quick...
I think that if you don't do it,
you don't have a choice.
You will no more be in business very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think
because if you do not provide the right solution, maybe your competitor will do. Yeah? And then you have a problem. So again, I said it before, and I'm convinced about that. Global warming has nothing to do with politics.
Right.
Yeah? We have a massive issue to deal with, a massive issue, and we have to provide solutions. And if we don't provide solutions, this will eliminate us from the game. So it's not, a nice to have.
Right. We have no choice.
It's mandatory. Yeah. So and when we speak about transformation in the company, it's one of these transformations which we have to go through if we want. If we would like not to disappear from the business, yeah. So it is as simple as that from my point of view.
Thank you, Patrick. Maybe
just one comment. I think also it's a question of responsibility. I mean, we are a large company, so we need also to set the tone in a way. to embark the others, and it's what we are trying to do also with our suppliers, for example.
All right, this is a good point, because the question is, how do you do that? How do you embark everyone?
So yes, maybe I can answer to this question, because I mentioned that we have now a global network in the company, and so for sure we embark everybody across the world in our company and with our suppliers, thanks to this global network. And we are setting transversal initiatives, so it means that everyone in each country is embarked in this initiative. I can take some recent example on energy saving. So we ask everyone to contribute to use less and better source of energy. And it was a really collaborative and collective approach. And it's the way we can embark everybody in the world.
Jaideep, your reaction to the other question about affordability and desirability. I would like to hear you on that, and also if you have any comments on the questions we just received.
No, absolutely. So we talked already about the link between frugality, affordability, and quality, but there's also a very important link with desirability. And you make a mistake if you think that affordability doesn't have to be desirable. It also has to be desirable. A very good example of that happened in my native country of India, where Tata Motors came up with a brilliant product, the Nano, the people's car, very affordable, the world's cheapest car. The mistake they made was they called it the world's cheapest car. And people don't want the world's cheapest car. They want an affordable car, but they want a cool car, one that other people want, and that it's nice to drive, and so on.
The perception.
The perception is very important. They want what other people want.
So the strategy was wrong.
It didn't work. Even though from an engineering perspective, and actually from an economic perspective it worked, but from a psychological and social perspective it didn't. But a different example, also from automotive, is Renault. And when they went into Eastern Europe in the 90s, they came up with an affordable car for Eastern Europe, Dacia line, but they also made it spacious, desirable, something that people would want, aesthetically pleasing. So we have another constraint, is you have quality, you have affordability, you have sustainability, but also desirability. And then you think, how can you square that circle? That's another constraint. But this is where the challenge comes. This is where you bring out the creativity in people. This is where you give them something to get up in the morning and come to work for. And then if you can come with an out-of-the-box solution, maybe in a small team initially, and then spread it, you're transformational.
That's very interesting. Keep pushing your questions in the comment section. So this one we've already seen on embarking everybody across the world. The next one is about, are your clients also ready for your ambitious goals? It's not possible without them, right? They have no choice.
No, but the good thing is that our employees and their customers are the same people. Yeah. So it's again something the people recognize around the world that we have a problem to solve. Yeah? And you know, our innovations, very often we sell them in countries which might not have been, you know, the first one you would think about when it comes to low CO2. China, for example, is very interested and very involved in trying to find solutions. Yeah? And in China, the cars have to be attractive. If they are not, you know, you don't sell them. So they take a risk. They take much more risks in Asia than we do in Europe with conservative designs.
And we'll have more constraints.
Yeah, so I don't think that this is an issue. You know? Consumers, and by the way, now our designers are asked to make the recycled material visible to some extent. Yeah, so we have to generate some defects
intentionally.
Intentionally. Yeah? So that the people can you know, argue that they are concerned about the climate. And that they can show it. They decided to go for recycled materials.
Oh, that's interesting.
But you can, and again, you can do it the right way. You can make it attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe if you have seen the communication around the electric Volvo. you've probably seen the dashboard with a material which is obviously unrecycled material.
And this is a great transition also, because the next question is about how do you compete with other OEM suppliers in Asia who don't necessarily have the same level of regulations as we have in Europe? You already touched on it a little bit. The constraints are a little bit different, but at the end of the day, maybe from your experience also, Jaideep, from looking at Asian companies, if you want to touch on that, any thoughts?
Well, again, regulation is another constraint. So bring it on. If you have regulations, strict regulations, that could, spur you to come up with an innovative idea.
Being more creative.
Be more creative. Or you could go to regions where there isn't so much regulation and try experiments there that you can't do here and learn from them in a responsible way. So you have, as FORVIA, such a big canvas to play with and paint on, that you should take advantage of that. Of course, you have to then give permission to your people in all these different parts of the world to try these experiments, learn from them, and pass it on to everybody else. But that's what you have the Blue Effect initiative for.
I think regulations, it's a very touchy subject. On one hand, you need regulations because regulations are pushing you to innovate and to find new solutions. On the other side, too much of regulations is the enemy of frugality. And when you look at all what we have to put in a vehicle today by regulations, and especially in Europe, it costs a fortune. So is all of that absolutely needed? I'm not sure. And so maybe this is also something, Victoria, we have to deal with the politics to make it clear that this multi-layer, which is just growing year after year, might be revised.
Victoria, you wanted to add something?
Yes, about OEMs in Asia. I think in Asia they are accelerating a lot. And they have also a very young generation of who are buying cars, and sustainability is very important for them. We are partnering with some Chinese OEMs. For example, with Chery, we announced a partnership for sustainability development. So what is happening in Asia, I think, is an acceleration regarding sustainability.
It's quite interesting.
And I can confirm, because we are working with many also Chinese suppliers, and we can see a huge acceleration in their decarbonization strategy. They are coming with fast implementation of new solutions, and really, I think that they are prepared to come in the European countries.
So the drive is not just about regulation.
Yes.
But what Victoria said about the age is very important. And buyer in China is 30 years of age, while a buyer in Europe is older than 55. So it's not exactly the same population.
This one is interesting. I'll take it. So what do you say to people that all that is greenwashing, that an automotive company cannot be sustainable because cars are a source of pollution anyway? That's not me saying the question, right? So any thoughts?
No, first of all, this is also why we are going towards zero emissions. I think that this is very clear to me. It's a question of time, and it's not linear. So we will see, ups and downs, accelerations, slowdowns in the years to come. But we are going in this direction. Then we will have to work on the weight of these vehicles. We will have also to propose mobility solutions related to use cases, and it's, I think, something we have to think about. Does it make sense to buy a car for a use case you will have once a year for a week? Yeah. Can we think about alternatives? Maybe. Yeah. And the other thing is that if a car would have, if we would be able to maintain the value of a car much longer, the business model would also be completely different. It will get closer to the housing business model, where your car, after 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, has still a value, and you can exchange this value against another car. because your use cases have changed. You know, maybe you have a greater family, a bigger family at this time. So my perception is that again, mobility is a human right.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's freedom. Yeah? And you cannot eliminate that, or you can even not reduce it. Look at today with the BEVs and with the reload stations. It's perceived as being an restriction of liberty, of freedom, of mobility freedom. Okay, this will change, because it will be multiplied, and you will. I'm sure that in 10, 15 years, nobody will think about this issue anymore. But today, it's the case. Yeah, and this is how the people are perceiving the mobility device. Now, is it a car? Is it a two-wheeler? Is it a three-wheeler? I don't think that this is really the significant question. Right. The point is we have to propose an affordable solution and sustainable solution corresponding to use cases, which counts for people.
All right, next question. Coming from Valentine, reducing our footprint. Does this also include other aspects of CSR, such as the social aspect? Maybe I'll add one lever to that, because we spoke about environment, the sustainability part, speaking about the environmental aspects, but there are other aspects also that we didn't touch on. Probably, there's the social dimension. What are you doing? Maybe I will speak to the two ladies here. What you doing in real life?
I will say that environment is one of the key pillars, but not only the only one. We have also all the social dimension, and for sure we have all these initiatives to drive business ethics, to respect the human rights in the supply chain as well. So, and we are really putting our people at the center. And we have also many other initiatives also through the foundation to empower people to run their own solidarity projects. And we have also many social initiatives in the company.
Very quickly, maybe Victoria?
Yes, maybe one point, because it's a very interesting question that we discussed a lot about CO2 reduction, so the neutrality roadmap. But there are a lot of topics that we are working on. Water, to reduce water intensity.
Yes, of course, biodiversity.
So here again, a lot of concrete targets. Water intensity is to reduce by 30% by 2030. We have waste also.
We were talking about that earlier.
Natural resources use. So we are working on a lot of topics, and also climate adaptation, which is also another topic that we are looking at.
We were talking about that earlier on, speaking about frugality, how some entrepreneurs are using waste to create businesses and create out of it in countries where there are less resources, but using the available resources to do things. Yes. Maybe if you could add some...
Yes, I mean, in parts of the world where people have few resources, they have to be resourceful. And they look around them and see what we have, and then they find ways, ingenious ways sometimes, to make the best use of what they have. So in some cases, all they have is waste. And so, as you gave the example of somebody you've interviewed...
Yeah, and an entrepreneur in Africa created a business out of it, and he's making pavements out of waste because the roads were really not very good. So now the roads are super well paved, so the vehicles and the people can,
So when you have these constraints, you have to think out of the box and you come up with a solution. And sometimes, even when you have resources, you can create a context or an artificial sort of burning platform to give people the impression they don't have resources. We did this during COVID. During COVID, you didn't have time. So people worked and came up with solutions that they wouldn't have come up with under normal circumstances.
This is very interesting. Patrick, you have a question?
Yeah, it's not a question. I just would like to say something about frugality. In wealthy countries, in the Western world, to make it simple, to promote frugality is a little bit more difficult than, for example, in India. But will India be able to maintain this strength of the frugal approach while becoming more wealthy. Yeah, and I think that this is the challenge we have. Yeah, and so we have to approach it differently. So we have the resources. Yeah, but nevertheless, we have to find solutions which will make our products affordable to the people. So it's a little bit it's a different approach. We need to define and promote. ESG, maybe just one thing. It's for a large extent equivalent to what I said about climate change. If you don't do the efforts, you will disappear. If you don't work on ESG, if you don't promote the highest standards, it will be very difficult to recruit the best talents and to keep them. Yeah, and I think the most severe but maybe also fair judge of what we are doing are our employees. Yeah, they see it concretely. They can testimony about what is happening inside the company. So you cannot bullshit. You cannot make communications around that, because it's something they see concretely. Yeah, and this is it's a must today.
Right.
Again, if you want to develop the company on a global scale, it's an absolute must. And by the way, good news, it corresponds to our convictions. So we are not doing it because we are forced to do it. We also do it because we believe in it.
I just want to add the point about greenwashing. That is a real danger you face when you make a public commitment to moving to all your objectives, very bold, wonderful, ambitious objectives. You're going to expose yourself to cases where you can't live up to your own ideals. But you've got to be prepared for this, and this is where communication becomes so important. You've got to communicate with your own employees, with your partners, and with the world at large. You've got to take them on the journey with you. It's a tough journey. Some things will work, some things there'll be backsliding. But if you get the trust of people early on and you explain these things to them, why this happened and so on, that's how you could potentially deal with it.
I mean, this is a very exciting conversation. I'm also looking at the time, just checking how much time we've got left. Maybe one or two more questions, and I'll just take this one. Patrick, it's a question for you. So Patrick, you talked about quality and always be rigorous with quality. What about perceived quality? Are your customers ready to accept not perfect sustainable materials, since they obviously have more variability? How do we change that?
I'm not sure I understand what not perfect sustainable material means. Yeah? Because we are delivering perfect quality, but different. Yeah, and when we make the recycled material visible, it's because the design of our customers are asking us to make it. And why are they asking us to make it? It's because they perceived that their consumers would like to get it in their cars. But this doesn't mean that we are not doing it the best way to propose an elegant design and with a material which is very homogeneous, so it's not that you have a few defects on one side and not on the rest of the material. So that's the difficulty also, to make it homogeneous and nice. So I don't believe that we have an issue with perceived quality, because again, perceived quality is what the people would like to get. And if they want to show to their neighbors or to whoever that they are involved, that they are concerned, and that they are doing whatever they can to protect the global warming, it's what you have to do.
Brilliant.
We presented some weeks ago, we had the automotive show in Paris, le Mondial de l'Automobile, and we presented some sustainable solutions. And for example, within the Renault 5 E-Tech, and I had some discussion with some people around the Renault, and we were presenting the instrument panel made with a solution from Materiact, hemp fibers and recycled propylene. that can help reducing CO2 by, I think, more than 17% of CO2 emission. And the people were saying, look, it's beautiful. No, really.
So it can be. It's not sustainability doesn't mean that we reduce the quality or it's ugly. It's not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very, very interesting. Maybe one final, and then we're running out of time. Two questions in one. So again, the question of affordability. Are you able to develop products more sustainably without increasing costs? And what is the biggest challenge to embarking everybody? And then we close. Anyone who wants to jump in, maybe.
Sustainability, again, sustainable should not mean cost inflation. I think we are very clear. We need sustainability and we need affordability and we need both together. And it's our problem to make our products affordable while making them also more sustainable. That's it. And we know that it is possible.
It's possible.
And we have, plenty of examples where we have demonstrated that it is possible. So zero inflation related to a CO2 reduction.
Your final words.
Yes, for sure. What we always say is using less is to save money that we can reinvest in better materials. It's really the recipe to achieve sustainability at affordable cost.
Jaideep?
Yes, again, it's a creative challenge. You say that we've got to have something that's sustainable, environmentally sustainable, socially beneficial. It has to be affordable. It has to be desirable. That's a problem, but that's also a challenge. It inspires people, not just your engineers, but everybody in the organization to come together, work with partners to come up with these ingenious solutions, and that's what's exciting about this, very transformative.
And Victoria, maybe we finish with some call to action. What are you expecting from the people watching us today and the employees? Maybe any call to actions you would like to finish on?
I think we need to break the silo. If we have a top-down approach, we won't succeed. So that's my point, to be creative, innovative, to be bold in a way.
So let's be bold. Yes. Fantastic. I think that will be the final words. Thank you for your time. It was great to have this conversation with you. Thank you to the people in the room, and thank you to all of you for your wonderful questions. It was great. Of course, we could speak longer, but time is running. So that's all from us. Hope you enjoyed it. And of course, if you're curious to learn more about the Blue Effect, stay tuned. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.